Have you ever trusted the wrong person? Have you ever given your whole heart to a job, a friend, or a leader, only to be completely betrayed? What happens when a powerful person does something wicked, and an innocent person has to pay the price? Welcome to the tragic, true story of Uriah and King David. It is a story of two men. One was a king living in a beautiful palace who let his dark desires take over. The other was a simple, faithful soldier fighting in the dirty mud, whose only crime was being too loyal. The war at Rabbah was brutal. 4 months, the Israelite army had been camping outside the enemy city. The weather was terrible, and food was short. Among these men was Uriah. He was a foreigner, a Hittite, but he fought like a lion for Israel. He loved God, and he was completely loyal to King David. When the fighting got hard, Uriah stood strong. At night, when the camp was quiet, he would look up at the stars and think about his beautiful wife, Bathsheba, waiting for him back in Jerusalem. But he never complained. He was there to do a job. If your friends were sleeping on cold rocks, would you demand a soft bed? Uriah didn't. He put his duty first. But while Uriah was risking his life on the battlefield, King David was relaxing in Jerusalem. This was the king's first big mistake. In the season when kings go to war, David stayed home in comfort. One warm evening, David was walking on the flat roof of his palace. He looked down and saw a beautiful woman taking a bath. It was Bathsheba. David knew she was the wife of Uriah, one of his bravest soldiers. But the king did not look away. He let his selfish, lustful desires win. He sent his guards to bring her to the palace, and he slept with her. Weeks later, a secret message arrived for the king from Bathsheba: "I am pregnant." Panic struck King David. What do you do when your darkest secret is about to be exposed? If David confessed, it would ruin his holy reputation. So, instead of repenting, the king decided to cover up his wicked sin with a lie. One evening, a messenger arrived at the commander's tent near the battlefield on a sweating horse. The message was from King David to the commander of the army, General Joab: "Send Uriah to me." General Joab came to Uriah and said, "The king wants you in Jerusalem. Leave tomorrow morning." Uriah was shocked. Soldiers don't usually get called home during a big war. Was the king in danger? He didn't ask questions. He just nodded and packed his things. When Uriah finally reached Jerusalem, it felt strange. The air smelled like fresh flowers, not dirt and war. He rode straight to the king's palace. He didn't even stop to see his beloved wife, even though he really wanted to. Duty came first. The palace was full of fancy carpets and sweet-smelling smoke. Uriah felt out of place in his dirty war boots. King David was sitting by a big window, wearing soft, clean clothes. He looked very relaxed. When Uriah arrived, dirty and tired from the war, David smiled and acted like a caring friend. He asked about the war, and then he gave his real command: "You have fought well. Go down to your house now. Wash up, rest, and be with your wife." David's plan was sneaky. He wanted Uriah to sleep with Bathsheba so that everyone would think the baby belonged to Uriah. Have you ever seen someone try to hide a lie by tricking an innocent person? Uriah walked out of the palace. His house was just down the road. His beautiful wife was inside. But Uriah stopped. He closed his eyes and remembered his friends back at the war, hungry, cold, and in danger. He remembered that the holy ark of God was sitting in a simple tent on the battlefield. How could he go home to eat, drink, and enjoy a warm bed with his wife while his brothers were suffering in the rain? Instead of going home, Uriah slept on the hard stone floor outside with the palace guards. The next morning, David found out Uriah didn't go home. The king started to panic. He called Uriah back. "Didn't you just travel a long way?" David asked, sounding stressed. "Why didn't you go home?" Uriah looked at the king with totally honest eyes. The Holy Ark and my fellow soldiers are sleeping in the open field. How can I go home to eat, drink, and make love to my wife? I swear to you, I will never do such a thing. When David found out his trick failed, he grew desperate. The next night, he invited Uriah to a feast and got him completely drunk. He hoped the alcohol would make Uriah forget his morals. But even drunk, Uriah's heart was pure. He stumbled out and went right back to sleep on the hard floor. His loyalty was unshakable. King David realized he could not break Uriah's goodness. So, his heart turned completely cold. The king wrote a letter to the army commander, General Joab, "Put Uriah out in front where the fighting is fiercest. Then withdraw from him so he will be struck down and be killed." David sealed the letter and handed it to Uriah. Imagine the wickedness, making a loyal man carry the very letter that orders his own murder. Uriah took it, bowed to the king who was betraying him, and rode back to the war. He didn't know he was carrying his own death warrant. He just obeyed his king, carrying the letter with the same absolute, unquestioning loyalty he had given to every command he had ever received. The ride back to Rabbah felt heavier than the journey to Jerusalem. The sealed scroll tucked safely into his leather belt felt like a stone pressing against Uriah's side. He had no desire to break the seal, no curiosity about its contents. It was the king's word, and that was enough. As the walls of the Ammonite capital came back into view, a strange sense of peace washed over him. The palace, with its soft beds, intoxicating wines, and confusing politics, was behind him. He was back where the lines were clearly drawn, where enemies stood in front of you, and brothers stood beside you. He rode directly to the command tent and handed the unbroken seal to General Joab. Joab broke the wax and read the brief, chilling words written by the king. "Put Uriah out in front where the fighting is fiercest. Then withdraw from him so he will be struck down and be killed." Joab's eyes flickered upward, landing on Uriah. The veteran general was a tough man who had seen thousands die, but even he felt the cold, unnatural weight of this command. He looked at the mighty warrior before him, a man who had bled for him countless times. Joab did not ask questions. He served the king. He had no choice but to obey the king's command. "Rest, Uriah," Joab said quietly. "Tomorrow, we push the eastern wall." The next day, the commander followed the king's wicked order. Uriah was put at the very front by a dangerous enemy wall. Arrows rained down like fire. Uriah fought fiercely, telling his men to hold the line. But when he looked back, he was alone. His own army had run away. They had left him to die. Uriah didn't know about his wife. He didn't know about the king's wicked cover-up. He only knew his country had abandoned him. But Uriah never ran from a fight. With a loud shout, he turned back to the enemies. He fought with all his might, all by himself. But there were too many. An arrow hit his shoulder, then his leg. He fell to his knees, still swinging his sword. Finally, an enemy spear pierced his chest. As Uriah took his last breath, he didn't feel angry. He just thought of his wife's smile and felt proud that he never broke his promise. He kept his honor until the very end. The faithful soldier closed his eyes, and the world went dark. Before we look at the lessons, ask yourself, does it break your heart to see how easily a powerful person can destroy a good person just to save his own face? If you were King David, at what point would you have stopped the cover-up and just confessed the truth? Would you rather be David, living with the dark, guilty secret of murder, or Uriah, dying with a completely pure and loyal heart? Here are 7 life lessons from the story of Uriah. 1. One bad choice leads to many more. King David's first mistake was staying home. His second was looking at another man's wife. Then came adultery, lying, getting Uriah drunk, and finally, murder. One hidden sin always demands another. If you cover your sin, it will find you out. 2. Do the right thing even when no one is watching. Uriah was honest even when the king told him to relax, and even when he was completely drunk. True goodness is in your heart, not just for show. Don't do the right thing because you want to please someone. Do the right thing because it is the right thing to do. 3. Your good behavior can expose bad people. Uriah wasn't trying to make King David look bad, but Uriah's pure honesty showed exactly how dirty David's secret actions were. 4. Don't let loyalty blind you. Uriah trusted his king so much that he carried his own death warrant. It's good to be loyal, but remember that human leaders can be deeply flawed and wicked. 5. A good leader suffers with his team. Uriah refused to sleep in a soft bed while his men slept in the dirt. Real leaders don't act better than their team, they share the hard times together. 6. Doing good doesn't always pay off immediately. Uriah gave his whole life and got betrayed. Life isn't always fair right away. But history remembers Uriah as a beautiful hero, while King David had to live with a terrible, permanent stain on his soul. 7. Actions speak louder than words. David tried to use sweet words and alcohol to trick Uriah. Uriah didn't say much, but his actions showed what he truly cared about. What you do when you are under pressure proves who you really are. Uriah's life ended in the dust of a foreign battlefield, but his story did not die there. His legacy lives on. For thousands of years, his name has stood as a towering monument to integrity, courage, and unshakable honor. The sword may have taken his life, and a king may have stolen his wife, but absolutely nothing could conquer his spirit. We live in a world where it is easy to compromise, easy to take shortcuts, and easy to hide our flaws. Let Uriah's beautiful, heartbreaking sacrifice remind us that true character is built in the dark, and a pure heart will always outshine the grandest palace. Join the journey. If Uriah's powerful story touched your heart today, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who values true loyalty and honor. I would love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and tell me, what was your biggest takeaway from King David's mistakes and Uriah's faithfulness? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more cinematic historical epics and life-changing lessons. Thank you for watching, and stay faithful. Until the next video, goodbye.